Alright, today we're going to go over lesson 5.3 from the algebra book. We are covering rate of change and slope. Rate of change and slope are very similar. We'll talk about the differences in a little bit, but let's go ahead and start with what rate of change is. Rate of change is a ratio comparing the change of the dependent variable with the independent variable. The most common way that we write a ratio is by a fraction. So rate of change equals the change in the dependent over the change in the independent. If I'm going too fast at any point, you can always just hit the pause button for a moment to get caught up. But again, it's a ratio, so we're going to divide the change of the dependent divided by the change in the independent. And how do we find the change? We subtract. So to find the change of two different numbers, you subtract them. Now keep in mind, dependent from before, from previous chapter, dependent is our y values, and the independent is our x values. Okay. First question here is story problem. That's normally we're going to use these rate of changes for story problems. And the first question has to do with your bank account. Here it says that so many days in the month you check it, and after so many days, and this is the different amounts that you have in the bank. And it says the question is find the rate of change for each interval and which was the greatest decrease. So keep in mind here, there's 5 different columns. So between any two is an interval. There's an interval. So this would be the first interval between day 1 and day 6. There's the first interval. The second interval would be between day 6 and day 16. Third interval and the fourth interval would be like such. Okay? So to find the first interval, we're going to do the change in the y. The change in the y. Remember, this is our x and this is our y. So change in the y. It went from, on day 6, it was 285, and we're going to subtract 550. Divided by 6 minus 1. You do the math, and on the top, you get out your calculator, you get 265, negative 265, over 5. And that comes out to, you divide that, and you get a negative 53. Now, what does that mean? That means over the span from day 1 to day 6, it went down $53 per day. Your bank account went down $53 per day. So you must have had some bills early in the month or whatever you had to pay more money out for, but $53 per day is the first interval. And that is the rate of change, kind of like unit rate, kind of same kind of term there, over that span. Second interval, it would be 210 minus 285. Notice I'm subtracting the right number and then subtracting the left number. Do I have to do the same order on the bottom? I can't switch the order. So as I went right to left, I got to go right to left. So on the bottom, 16 minus 6. This time I get a negative 75 over 10. And you divide that and you get negative 7.5. So that goes down $7.50 per day. Okay. So third interval, we're going to do the same stuff, same exact type of math here. Third would be 210 minus 210, pretty easy math there. Divide that by 22 minus 16. And you get 0, of course, on top. On the bottom, 22 minus 16 is 6, which is just 0. So it went down $0 per day there. Obviously makes sense. The amount didn't change. The last interval, the fourth interval, 175 minus 210 over 30 minus 22. You do the math on this one, and you get 35, negative 35 over 8, which you divide that, and you get a negative 4.375. Which one had the greatest decrease? This one went down $53 a day. The rest were only in the single dollar range, so 750, 470, 437, 7, and 0. So obviously this one had the greatest. So first interval had greatest decrease. So a lot of work for these kind of problems. You got to do basically 4 little problems in between there, then also ask you kind of a follow-up question. And there it is. Second question here says to graph and label the rate of change for the previous problem. Now we've already done all the math. So now they just want us to graph it and label the rate of change on the graph. So remember, when you're doing story problems, you're doing the graphs, make sure you label your graphs. Here's my x, here's my y. Remember, the x was your day, the y was your balance, which is your dollar amount. If you look at the x's, it spans from 1 to 30. So I need to go from 1 to 30 on my days. I'm just going to count by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. On the y's, it goes from 550 down to 175. So we go all the way down to 0. We need to go up to 500. So on these, let's just count by 100. So call that 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. And now we just plot our points. So the first one would be at 1, 550. So 1, 550 would be approximately right there. 6, 285. So 6, this would be 200, 300. So 6, 285 would be somewhere about there. The next one is 16, 210. So there's 10, 15. So 16 would be here. 210 would be approximately there. The next one is 22, also 210. So there's 20. 22 would be about there. Also, 210 should be flat line, obviously. And the last one would be 30 and 175. So 175 would be approximately there. And now I connect the dots. Not done yet. It says to label the rates of change. Well, we already did the math. This was our first interval. During this interval, remember, it went down negative $53 per day. So this is labeling the rate of change. From this portion here, the next interval, it went down $7.50 a day. Next interval, it went down $0 a day. In the last interval, it went down $4.38 per day. And I'll round up to a whole dollars and cents there, so I'll round that up to 38 cents. That's how you label the graph. So that is rate of change. Now, rate of change is very similar to slope, so let's take a look at that. Slope deals with 2 terms called rise and run. And the rise is the change in the y value. This should be reviewed for you from last year from pre-algebra, but rise is the change in the y value. If the y value goes up, that would be a positive rise. If the y value goes down, that would be a negative rise. The run, this is your left and right. It's a change in your x value. If you're going to the right, that would be a positive change in your x value. If you're counting to the left, that would be a negative change in your x value. And again, slope, just like rate of change, is a ratio of the rise to the run. So it's a ratio, so a fraction of rise over run. So to find the slope, we just plug in the points, and then we can actually graph and figure it out. But first I want to point out, slope is for a line. Slope is for a straight line. Rate of change usually is not for a straight line. Rate of change is usually for story problems in which it varies, kind of like the last problem you saw. But if it's a line where we're doing y equals mx plus b, or we have an x and a y in our equation, that's going to make a line. Like we've been talking about linear equations, we're going to use the slope as rise over run. All right, so to find the slope of these lines, we need to plot the points first. So 0, negative 3 would be right there. Mark the origin on here a little bit clearer. There's the origin. So there's 0, negative 3, and 5, negative 5. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to know the slope of that line. So remember, slope is rise over run. So if I want to count the rise, I'm going to count down. From this point to this point, it goes down 2 units. And I mark that with a negative 2. So the rise is negative 2. The run, how far over does it go? It goes right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And it goes right 5, so it's a positive 5. So my slope is negative 2/5. Now some of you might want to go and start counting from this point to this point. That's fine. My rise would go up 2, so it would be a positive 2, but my run would be negative 5. So either way, I still end up with a negative 2/5 or a 2 over negative 5, and it equals the same thing either way. Okay. The next one, negative 2, negative 1. Negative 2, negative 1 would be right there. 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 would be right there. Oh no, the slope of this line. So again, rise over run. So how far up does it go? It goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So that's a positive 5. The run, it goes over to the right 3 units. So that's a positive run. So my slope is 5/3. By the way, we leave it like that. And that's what the bottom note here deals with. Unless it's a whole number. Unless you can divide it and make a whole number. Leave the slope as an improper fraction. Improper fraction. Mixed numbers and decimals are for story problems only. For normal slope problems, you should always leave it as an improper fraction. And don't make it a mixed number, don't make it a decimal number. However, if it's a story problem, then you can do that. Last thing, just a couple things here we'll run through real quick. Some special slopes. Special slopes. The first thing, horizontal lines have zero slope. Okay? Zero slope. Because it has a 0 in the numerator. So it has no rise. It doesn't rise up or go down at all. So it has a 0 in the numerator, so that's a 0 slope. Vertical lines, slopes are undefined. Because we would have a 0 in the denominator. Okay, so let's take a look at this to show you real quick. On this one here, rise over run. Here's my line. It goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. Or it could go down 8 units if you want to consider that. But it doesn't really matter because if you notice the run, it goes left or right 0 units. It doesn't go left or right at all. 0. So because there's a 0 in the bottom, this is undefined. You cannot have a 0 in the denominator. On this one, rise over run, this one we have a horizontal line. Notice the rise, it goes up 0. It doesn't go down 0. It goes side to side. It doesn't go up or down at all. So 0, and this one goes over 4 units. So that would be 0 slope, or no slope. Okay? Classifying slopes. Last thing, really simple. Just like when we did correlations, if the graph went generally up and to the right, this would be considered a positive slope. If it goes down and to the right, that'd be a negative slope. If it's a horizontal line, we just did that a second ago, horizontal line right here, this is no slope or 0 slope. The vertical line is undefined slope. Okay? And that would be it for today. Let me know if you have any questions, but that should help you out with your homework. Have a good day.